Hytale feels familiar. Of course, with the reveal of any game, you'll get comparisons to contemporaries and a healthy dose of rage bait. And while Hytale has seen plenty of those two things, after all, how could it not? It's made of blocks, so means Minecraft. It's interesting because space games go through a similar thing. Space is not like a genre, it's a thematic element, a setting, but for some reason we quantify a lot of those games into just one genre. Voxel games, or block games, go through the same thing, and often a game that has a voxel style to it announced gets cast aside because it's just modded Minecraft. Of course, as I said, mostly rage bait, but look, I'm no saint. Way back, all those years ago, my first glance at Hytale was a bit of a side-eye. I thought it looked kinda weird and couldn't shake the Minecraft mod look, but I stuck around, and the way the devs spoke of it gave me a very different impression. Hytale's fundamental DNA will always have sort of a Minecraft strand woven into it, because Hytale was created as an environment where Hypixel Studios would have the control to pursue their vision instead of bearing witness to Mojang's. And while rage bait is one thing, for that reason I really can't blame people for thinking this really is a sort of Minecraft 2, or a Minecraft but better. After all, we've never gotten to see the game in action. It didn't really give itself the opportunity to stand apart and show people what actually practically makes it different than a game like Minecraft. The years went by, and we began to hear the differentiating design this game could see. More RPG-like mechanics, more looting, quests, a storyline of some kind, boss fights, all mixed together in some sort of open-world voxel sandbox. But soon after, we were put into the dark, and Hytale's vision shifted and eventually dimmed out, until recently. The reacquisition of Hytale has seen a flood of information come out, and for the first time, the owner of the studio just opened the game, hit record, and did some stuff. We finally got to see the damn thing. No fluff, no cutscenes, the most straight-up gameplay you could get, and thank God. The amount of still shots of an environment with nothing going on in it, scenes of a mob just doing something for 10 seconds, and players we did get to see were rarely the perspective of the footage we were seeing. This 16 minutes of gameplay is the single best piece of media they have ever put out, as far as I'm concerned. Of course, I'm grateful for all of the details in the blog posts and other things, and someone who has a deeper interest already in the game like myself eats that stuff up, but the general populace functions off of footage and maybe tweets. Stills and a duck dunking its head under the water won't convince someone this is the game it's claiming to be. And as time goes on, the general disgust to the more online sector of the gaming space feels for the typical trailer leads to game that vibes entirely different than the game it's promoting, eventually leads to a distrust in almost all promotional material past straight up, honest gameplay. And I'll admit, even someone dug in like me felt a sense of intangibility in the game. A fellow creator that goes by Quebec Corner recently posted a reaction to the gameplay reveal, and I can't help but quote a certain moment.
Very cool. Okay, so they're wandering around. Oh, are we gonna... That's what breaking a tree looks like in Hytale? It all falls down like that? That looks so cool!
If the most inward core audience members are relieved that they finally get to witness a tree being broken, I think that serves as a decent example of how little people know about the specific moment to moment. I'm not trying to say we've gotten no information. We've gotten a small novel worth of information over the years, but words, trailers, text, and curated clips can never fill the need for gameplay. And instead of getting a gameplay reveal trailer, we got so much more. Now, with all of this information and hype, the devs have been extremely clear. This car is busted, but somehow it runs. This thing is unfinished and not close to finished. Features will be missing, bugs can be frustrating, saves could be corrupted. But despite all that, this game looks way better than I was expecting. Primarily, this footage consists of Simon, the co-founder, basically just walking around, hitting things, breaking some trees, casts a bit of magic, walking through some world gen. There are many questions past this gameplay, but we finally get to see some of that fundamental design. What kind of game are we playing in this moment? How about we open with this? There's no hunger bar. Obviously, the whole game is still going through so much right now, I'm sure we can't make concrete calls on really anything, but that feels very intentional to me. The only context I've seen food used in is to heal, and it doesn't seem quick either. The abilities and movements seem like they feel good. The movement specifically seems real nice, and AI is pretty obviously as unfinished as they claim. There's this ability here that at first glance is an ultimate, like in a hero shooter, but it's an ability attached to the weapon, not the character, and is combo-based, incentivizing more involved combat. Of course, we still haven't seen the way progression may or may not exist in the early access build, but speaking aside of the combat, the vibe is really good in this game. The sound design is meticulous. Check out this fight with some skeletons. Not only is the feedback and sounds in combat really crisp, but the moment the player is low health, all of the wildlife and ambience strips away and leaves you with just a heartbeat, a low health chime, and the sounds of yourself and the enemies, with a touch of tension ambience way in the back. I'll play it again for you with compressed audio. This will distort the sounds a bit, but even out everything, so the layering is far more apparent. I'll be doing this on and off. Honestly, my favorite scenes watching this stuff back are when the player is just walking through the world. I love a game that understands the difference between quiet and silence. It's incredibly rare in the real world that you'll find yourself in literal, actual silence. Quiet, sure, but total silence? I don't know about that. Hytale understands this. Vistas can be quiet and calm, but don't seem to be literally silent. In fact, there is so much effort in these soundscapes, it gives me some confidence in the game I wouldn't have had otherwise. When the skeleton casts magic, the pages spin up before the spell is actually cast. The music bakes into the world so nicely. As I said, I do expect bugs. I do expect this to be very unfinished, but I think I see what they're talking about in that blog post where they said things will click and you'll get a glimpse of the vision. There's something here for sure. They've even done a small demonstration of the asset editor. How comprehensive this tool is, I'm not really qualified to comment on, but we're working with things like position and transform parameters, similar to what you'd find in something like a 3D software. These particle properties are working in some fashion on animations, materials, collision, even a render mode that seems to behave almost like a composite mode used in professional creative software. They said Hytale is trying to blur the lines between a game you play and one you make. And I think the blurred line is a great way to put it. It's not trying to be Roblox really. Roblox would better be described as a game engine, at least to my very limited knowledge of it. Minecraft is a game you play and has basically become a platform in and of itself, but it's a game that draws weird lines when it comes to creative tools and support from the developers. I'm not sure if Microsoft is sure what Minecraft is or going to be. Hytale is something else. We can't see the whole vision yet, but finally seeing these tools makes one extremely speculative as to how far these will go and where this game draws the modding lines. I was very happy to hear that the game will be selling for $20 standard, and will have more expensive tiers if you want to support the development. I'm guessing these higher tiers will also come with something like cosmetics. Monetization is also something I'm curious about, as well as when it will be deployed and in what way, but it doesn't seem like something they're too focused on right now over at the dev team. While writing this video, they posted an entirely new blog post that specifically speaks on modding, and while this is a lengthy post, something I'm personally very excited to hear is this game is trying to bridge the gap to some extent between a programmer and a player. Visual scripting, as they call it, seems to be a logic flowchart node workflow they are integrating into the game that is reminiscent of many more pro-level applications like video compositors and 3D workspaces, and even game engines, currently iterating on workflows for NPCs, interactions, and world gen. This design philosophy, I cannot stress this more, is a very good thing to see to me, once again blurring that line between game you play and the one you make. So while to me, Hytale is something trying to be unique in a familiar genre, the comparisons are inevitable. People have en masse decided this is Minecraft too, and so in my discussions around the game, there will always be moments where I bring up similar mechanics and design because everyone's gonna do that. And ultimately, there will be similar moments, similar things the games try to accomplish in certain ways. Like, for example, Minecraft is a game that very much, at least in the vanilla sense, focuses around the cozy home vibe, and a lot of people really enjoy farming and working with animals and making things like that. And is Hytale going to cater to that? We've seen extensive farming, at least so it looks in screenshots before, but we still don't see it in-game. And I'm wondering if that's even something that's going to be all that present for launch. I guess time will tell. But after all, this is the game that many people think is the first true competitor in this space. Although I do think it's so far distinct enough that it's worth paying attention to at the very least. So let me know your thoughts down below, and let's see what comes next. Thank you for your time.